The chapter we're studying today is one of the most important chapters in the entire Bible. This chapter sets up much of the storyline that is to follow. Now, after David was crowned king, he took the city of Jerusalem, and something we didn't mention at the time was that in recognition of his kingship, and clearly as an offer of friendship, the king of Tyre sent envoys to David, along with cedar logs and carpenters and stonemasons, and they built a palace for David. That's quite the gift, isn't it? It is evidently a present, but it's also an offer of peace. This nation knows something of David's reputation as a man blessed by God and fierce in battle, and they don't want to be on the receiving end, the sharp end of that relationship. And so, as chapter 7 begins, we read, "After the king was settled in his palace, and the Lord had given him rest from all his enemies around him, he said to Nathan the prophet, 'Here I am, living in a house of cedar, while the ark of God remains in a tent.'" He's obviously hinting at the fact that there is permanence now for the people of God, and there is peace in the land. Surely this is the time to build the temple. The tabernacle was only ever intended to be temporary. It was built way back in the book of Exodus. It has endured now for almost 500 years, but surely now it is time to construct the temple. However, it is not God's will for David to build the temple. God speaks through Nathan the prophet to say that David may not build the temple. Now, David will be sad that he is not permitted to build God's temple, but he will be pleasantly surprised by what God is building, not just for David, but through David. So firstly, God points out that he is not the one who has made this request. God hasn't asked for this. This is David's idea. It's David's initiative. It's David's timing. And he's kind of jumped the starter's gun on this. God says, "Wherever I have moved with all the Israelites, did I ever say to any of their leaders who I commanded to shepherd my people Israel, 'Why have you not built me a house of cedar?'" So on that front, David, hold your horses. But when it comes to building, let me tell you what I am building. Let me tell you not about the house of God, but the house of David. That is the line, the family of David, from verse 9. "Now I will make your name great, like the names of the greatest men on earth, and I will provide a place for my people Israel and will plant them so they can have a home of their own and no longer be disturbed." It's funny, isn't it? Talking about who is building who a home here. God says, no, I am the one building a place for you and your people to dwell. The Lord declares to you that the Lord himself will establish a house for you. Then we have a prophecy about a son of David, a literal flesh and blood son. Like many Old Testament prophecies, this has an immediate fulfillment and an ultimate fulfillment. Immediately is fulfilled by Solomon. God says, "I will raise up your offspring to succeed you, your own flesh and blood. I will establish his kingdom. He is the one who will build a house for my name." He's talking about Solomon, isn't he? "And I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever." See, though, how this is fulfilled ultimately by Jesus. Jesus is in the literal bloodline of King David. He's born of the tribe of Judah through Mary, who also belonged to the same tribe. Literal flesh and blood ancestor of David then. And God will establish Jesus' kingdom and his throne, and indeed it will truly last forever and ever. Verse 14, "I will be his father, he will be my son." Yeah, that's true of Solomon to an extent, but it's true of Jesus all the way through. Now, how does this apply to both of them? "When he does wrong, I will punish him by a rod wielded by men, with floggings inflicted by human hands." Solomon will do wrong and will be punished for it. But Jesus did no wrong and yet was punished. So what can we say about Jesus then? That our wrongs truly were reckoned to his account. That's what's going on at the cross. And so yes, the Father punished him, as we read in Isaiah 53. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering, yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him, and afflicted. You see how that is exactly what God says here in 2 Samuel 7. I will punish him, and I will do it through human beings, with a rod wielded by human beings, floggings inflicted by human hands. But hear this, my love will never be taken away from him, as I took it away from Saul, who I removed before you, David. Solomon was loved by God. Jesus was loved by God. And finally, God says to David, Your house and your kingdom will endure forever before me. Your throne will be established forever. That's true of David, and it's true of Solomon, and in the greatest possible sense, it's true of King Jesus. This promise, this prophecy of a man who will come into the world, great David's great descendant, it finds its fulfillment ultimately in Jesus. So you are following a king who will never be dethroned. You are part of a kingdom that will never end, and you, as a son or daughter of God, you will never be punished by him, because in his amazing love, your king took the punishment you deserve so you could have peace. What an amazing prophecy given here to David, but what an amazing fulfillment is found in Jesus.